If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey. Good day.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Rise of the New World Order. Actually, this is kind of a mashup tonight between Rise of the New World Order, the Gray Stage, Southern Sentinel, and Global Watchman News. So we are all simulcasting right now.
Once Greg gets here, we can do the Brady Bunch thing.
We can.
Is it
too funny? So tonight, so tonight on the panel, we have myself, we have Eric, we have Jeff Hayes, we have Sophia, Catherine, we have Jaime, and we have Cass, and we're waiting on Greg. You probably all, if you're followers of Rise of the New World Order, or Eric or whatever, you know who Jeff is, you know who Jaime is, but and Cass. But Sophia and Catherine, you are actually from the Gray Stage, correct?
Yes. The David Crowley group, yes.
Yes, the David Crowley group.
Catherine has her own YouTube channel too that she's been doing videos for the David Crowley series. So
nice.
Make sure to check that out, everybody.
I will make sure that we put all the links to all the channels in the description below. I do want to welcome everybody in our live chat. We are simulcasting on 4 channels right now. We are live on Southern Southern Truth. We're live over on Global Watchman News. We're live here on the Rise of the New World Order, and we are over on Facebook on Exposing Satanic World Government. So I want to take a minute just to welcome everybody. If you're new to this channel, take a minute, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when we go live. Where do we start, guys?
I'm going to start in the chat room and just kind of check out who's over here. Sentinel Jeff Hayes, how's it going with the book sales as far as getting it on Amazon and getting your new book out there? His last book was Rise of the New World Order, The Calling of Man, which was #1 best-selling biblical prophecy in the UK and the United States, and also The Awakening. Third book just came out, and of course, we are going to be giving away a book at some point during this broadcast, and we'll figure out what the question will be at some point.
If you were waiting on a book from me, they got mailed out today.
So everybody should have a book now. If you have not received your book, let us know. We'll make sure we get it out ASAP. But I think we got everybody covered now. And we'll be giving away. Well, tonight, you know what? I mean, with this cast here, tonight we'll give away, just tonight only, I'm going to give away the first book, the second book, and the third book. But we're going to make the question really hard. And then we have to, of course, get... I tried to send books to Jaime and they came back.
I've got something to say.
I don't know if that's an Australia thing.
It's Australia.
Catherine and Sophia, you guys are in the US. So we'll get you your address afterwards. We'll also be sharing that with the CIA, the FBI.
Oh, I already have a clearance. They have all my info.
Yep.
There had also been
some agencies will have it, but you get a book.
Yeah. There's also been a major problem with the Australian Post Service here in Australia. I've been sending out the cops to my audience for people overseas, and what's happening is there's been understaffed. They're backlogged for about 3 to 6 months. They're just piled up with deliveries and that. They're not getting out there. I have made a call, and they'll be starting to ship them out in the next 2 weeks, so you should be receiving a cup shortly or whatever.
I thought maybe because they might have thought they were infected with COVID-19.
Well, I've got a 40-year-old.
We've done this. We haven't gotten a strike in a while because we've gotten really good with using these code words, which we have to, as silly as that is.
You had to say exactly. You had to bring that up, didn't you?
We haven't gotten strikes. Yeah, I'm happy about that for now. Oh, because now they're going to be like, oh, we got to go.
Waiting on Greg to pop in here.
How's the book doing? Did you get it on the Amazon?
I'm still waiting for I hate technology and stuff, but the quote unquote metadata for the paperback is not plugging into Amazon yet. So that was the entire reason for doing that book that Laurie's holding, was to get it in a paper form. And Amazon really is the only game in town. It's just stupid. I hate them to death. So I'm just waiting for their stupid metadata to it's on there on ebook, which I've always had, and I have all the updates on ebook, but I'm just trying to get this dang paper book on there, paperback. And it's just not linking up. So I'm working on that now, but other than that, she goes. So
Exactly. Wow.
That's all any of us
what
can
do we
do.
do? So this show's going
Just
to be
go
kind of
gently,
about
gently.
the great the movie, or the Greg's research and all that stuff, because this will be
All
very
the above.
interesting. I love this kind of stuff. So nice. And Catherine and Cass are both involved with Greg and what he's trying to do. So that's killer. I love that. Activist.
Yeah, I know, Cass, you're with Jaime, correct? I know Sophia and I.
Yeah.
We do the same thing Greg does,
Okay.
so we kind of all work together.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Now I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm a Southerner.
Now we
same
need
as Jody.
Greg.
That's right.
Let me do this. So we'll put
Awesome.
we'll put Jaime and Cass together, and then when when Greg comes on, the three will be with Greg is Sophia and Catherine. Speaking of, what are you,
Here's your story.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's hot. Greg.
Laurie, I've got no audio coming through this simulcast. I'll have to end the simulcast on my end and redo it again because apparently there's no audio.
Okay.
So, Day Witches, Guides, and Southern Drifter. Dilly.
Hope he's not pissed when he comes back and realizes we were just miming. He's still here. My bad. We'll see.
We would do that too. We would do that too. So you got it.
Good.
Hi, Greg. How you doing?
Oh, I'm here. I'm here pretty much.
I got us, Jamie.
Greg, are you still trying to steal my title?
I am.
I thought I was hot Kathy, or what did they call me? Sexy? What?
Yeah. No, you are. You are hot Kathy, but you got to say it correctly.
Oh, hot. Hot.
Hot.
That's right.
Greg.
I'm sweating.
Oh, that's so funny. I didn't even know anything like that was going on until I heard Greg talking about it. And I'm like, I still don't know, but it's pretty funny.
That's right.
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Hot Kathy. That was so hilarious. I still get a laugh.
Okay.
Greg's theme music. We got to play it every time he comes in the room.
Yeah, well, let's. Do you have it?
I was just playing it. It didn't come through.
No, it didn't come through.
Come on, what's this craziness? Seriously. You can't hear that?
Barely.
Wow, we've had some craziness going on today.
What's going on?
Hi, this is Ron Jeremy.
How about that?
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to my show.
Live. Greg Fernandez, author of Gray Stage. All right.
There's my fan club.
There's your fan club. All right. So for everybody that doesn't understand or who's not, I can't think of anybody who's not familiar with the death of David Crowley and his wife and his daughter back in December of 2014. But let's kind of I have the trailer for Gray State. Should I play that to start us off?
Sure. The trailer for Gray State.
Sure.
You know what? Probably not, because I've noticed that every time I play it, I get a strike.
Really? Because I play it all the time.
You do? Okay. So it's probably just me. Then go for it.
Go first. All right.
Sit right
I dreamt about how things were.
Of every enemy of the state!
And then I woke up here.
That would mark the 1,500,000 in 55th
Wow.
time I've seen that.
Yeah, still gives me chills.
And you guys too,
And
right?
it's-
Right. Still gives you chills every time, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
Sure
it does. Absolutely, it does.
Yep.
For different reasons
No
now.
question.
But, yeah.
All right, so let's dive into this. So this was the concept that he had what do I want to say, pitched to several people over the years, correct?
That's right.
I'll have to end this simulcast on my end, Laurie, because it's not working at all. The volume is not coming in. Everything is plugged in.
What's up with that,
Oh.
Jamie? What's up with that?
I don't know.
Jamie's fired as the IT
Funny
guy.
that.
It's a conspiracy.
I'll just have to upload it later on. So
Okay.
sorry guys on Southern Chris YouTube channel. It's just
Give them the
YouTube
link.
being
Drop the link over so then they can come over into this chat room then.
there's no one there really. No one there over here. They're not
Okay.
listening. So I'll just end it. And I'll
All right.
re-upload it afterwards. So
Okay, awesome. Okay, so David Crowley had an idea. He had a vision for it would actually be a movie or a documentary, where it would show the dystopia where our society was headed towards if it kept on the track that it was. And this was back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and so he put together this trailer, pitched it to Hollywood, got accepted, I believe, right, Greg? And then all of a sudden, him and his family was found dead.
That's
Why don't
right.
you take it? Why don't you, if you can, or one of you guys, Catherine or Sophia, because I know you're having problems talking.
Yeah, I'll talk if you don't mind,
Okay,
because
go
give
ahead.
poor Greg a break. I'm sorry. What was your question? Oh my God, he has the toothache, and I'm the one who forgot what you just asked.
If we could just kind of give some background of everything, the vision, who we pitched it to, bringing it up to the time that we found him dead.
Okay, well, I mean, what we know from all of the records that we've been able to get copies of is Gray State was a long process for him. He'd been working on this and rewriting it for many, many years. We're not quite sure how. We know that he and Danny August Mason met through an instructor at film school. And then they got together and somehow a concept was then born. So David started writing on it. So we're talking early 2000s, I believe. So by the time he had finally pitched it to Hollywood, he had rewritten it several times. And it got to the point where it really was just his baby, so to speak. He completely gutted it and rewrote it and wrote out certain characters, and he really made it his own. He didn't like the feel that the movie was going at the beginning, so he changed it up. Sophia, you want to pick up?
Sure. After he had gone twice to LA to meet with the Mikes, who were the ones who had decided to pick up the film. And by the time the fall came along, they decided that the film would probably be best told in a series. And I think it was Sons of Anarchy was ending at that time, and they were thinking, okay, we could get this up on maybe FX and or whatever series Sons of Anarchy was on. I can't remember. I think AMC. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so they were then talking about breaking down the storyline into pieces so that they could have this series or a limited series. And that is part of the contract. And David discusses it in his Day One journal. And he starts working on the scripts. Thank you, Planet, for that. Sons was on FX.
Okay.
So anyway, he starts working on the beginning of, I guess, the premiere script, the very first episode pilot, and he kind of refers to it in the Day One Journal, and then he sent it off to Hollywood, and that was about the end that you hear of him talking about Gray State. He discusses some other movies at that time or scripts that he's working on, but it's really the end. The fall is when he stops talking about Gray State at that time. And then the journal ends abruptly in November. I think it was like November 5th or 6th that it stops. And that's all we really know from there. I mean, we do have his searches that he did on his computer. I think it was the last 12 or 14 days that they were supposedly alive. So we do have that. And then I think that, and we have the phone records too, but it's kind of vague. You're like trying to read into those. We do know that in the police report where somebody says, oh, that they text David or called David, those didn't actually happen.
And
And
none of those are backed up by the records.
yes. And so we also know that up until, I think it was 2019, or early 2020, the cell phone was still on. Well, it wasn't on. The account was still being paid for. And it was being paid, 2 lines were being paid for. And it was by a David Crowley LLC, I believe. And so that was an interesting development. You know, just a whole bunch of weird stuff with this case.
His personal cell phone?
Yes, his personal cell phone account was still being paid for. I haven't gone back to check. I don't even know if I'll be able to get that information now. When I went in, we were looking at certain codes for the cell phone that were in the records that we didn't understand. And the guy plugged in his account number, and the first 2 pages, which you can see, anybody could see these first 2 pages. It showed that the account was still active and that it was still being paid for. Now, the first time that I went in, it was on hold. It had been suspended, but they said that had been continued to be paid for. It just, that month it was suspended for non-payment.
Do
And
you
next,
know who was, I mean, you said it was David Crowley LLC, but who is that?
I don't know. I've tried Googling it and I cannot come up with anything.
That's quite interesting. I didn't even know about that. That's, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I've been accused of getting into David's account illegally, but that has never happened. We have never gotten into his account. You have to have a passcode.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, I would never overstep those boundaries. So this was just something that the gentleman at the store had input the account number. The first 2 pages came up that showed that it was still active.
Is somebody using that number? I mean, was there activity? I mean, okay, paying, it's fine, but is there activity on that line?
Yeah. The phone number had been recycled. So they had gotten a new number and it was for 2 lines.
Interesting.
So, and that's all I know. And then the next day that I went in, it had been paid for overnight and it was back active again.
That's crazy.
So it was just really weird. And never got the answers that I needed, but I did get that information.
Okay, so what led up to we'll keep that because I think I want to go back to that, but let's lead up to the day that
Sure.
him and his family was found. Do you think I probably can't play the 911 call, right? Will she strike the channel?
I'm sure she will.
Yeah.
No. You could definitely play it. Play that thing. Play that funky music.
Well, she will. Just be prepared.
Great.
It's on my channel. So
Is it on your channel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Gray Stage?
No. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just so you know, she has stated that she
Laurie,
reports it whenever.
Laurie, I was just fixing up my audio. It's working now. Yes, it's working now.
Okay, cool.
I was just working.
Cool. How far back is it, Greg? While I look for it, trying to find it here.
Yeah, if you want, I can.
Yeah, can
send
you
it
grab
to
me
you
the link?
on Facebook?
Yeah, Greg, can you do that?
Yeah.
So
We'll
while
play
you're
that.
doing that, do you mind if I kind of toss something in here for a minute?
Absolutely. Pick up on. Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about leading up to when the bodies were found. We do not know when they died. We know that the police say that they believe it was somewhere around Christmas time. However, the evidence doesn't support that. We also know that the medical examiner lists the date of death as the day they were found, which is standard. You know, if it's not seen or witnessed, it's generally the day a body was discovered is when they will list it as the date of death. But, you know, all we do know for certain is that sometime in December, everything stopped from them. And then the bodies were found toward the middle of January. And so the only thing we have to go by are the autopsy reports. And clearly the autopsy reports do not show a death of December 25th. I mean, it just doesn't.
Right.
And that's the thing that kind of frustrates me with the medical examiner's office and the police department. The ME knows this, and I'm sure the police department knows this too, but saying that they died sometime maybe after the first, again, we don't know. That's speculation.
But we do know that there were Christmas presents on the porch.
Correct. And the majority of the people in that neighborhood said they didn't even see the presents there until January.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
And just, yeah. So, but again, you know, just because they may not have been seen and doesn't mean that they were dead. You know, there's a lot of things that could have been happening within that house. So, you know, it's just all pure speculation. However, for me, this is my personal opinion, for the police to say and give it a date of death in December when they know very well that is not the case. To me, that just kind of, they're building a narrative, they're sticking to a narrative instead of following the evidence within the case. And that's always bothered me.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I know when it first was, I mean, I remember the day, like I said, a lot of us were, back in 2014, there was a lot of really huge pages, and the page owners, we were all in one group chat. And, you know, that was the big thing that, you know, the conspiracy theorists were talking about the Gray State, David Crowley and all this other stuff. And then I remember somebody put in the chat that, you know, what had happened. And it was like, it was so surreal. And we all just dropped everything we were doing, dug into it, and, you know, tried to make some sense of it, because it was so it was all, you had the conspiracy theorists on one side saying that somebody else, you know, did this to them. And then you had, you know, other people on the other side saying that David was guilty of this, of killing his wife and child, you know. So, I mean, we had these two different worlds clashing for a while on social media.
a while.
It still continues.
It's still clashing. Let's just put it that way. It's still, I mean, after all this time, it's still. And I wasn't aware that it was still clashing until recently, but
I mean, they are clashing. We just ignore them. They're not worth our time.
right. Exactly.
So, I
So-
mean,
They are my fan club. I can't completely ignore them.
Fans. They are your biggest fans. Oh, and by the way, I was telling everybody beforehand, Greg, just to let you guys know, Judy has contacted me. It went to my other folder, and I haven't even clicked it open.
Are you trying to steal my fans? Trying to steal my fan?
No, I don't answer fan mail.
Okay.
oh well, you're in good company.
Okay, so this is off of Greg's channel. So if she is listening, this is not your property. I'm taking this off of Greg's channel, and so I will make sure that I submit the proper paperwork where you could lose your YouTube channel if you falsely strike my channel for this. Just going to let you know that I'm not new. This isn't my first rodeo. I've been around a while.
You can always blame Jaime. That's what I do when everything goes wrong.
Yeah, just blame me. Just blame me.
I blame Eric. He's the one I blame.
That's true.
That's right. So, okay. So this is going to lead up to now. Okay. Let's just kind of set the picture before I do the 911. So, one of you, if ladies could set the scene for the 911 call.
Pure comedy gold. Let's put it like that. This is a complete.
Okay, I've seen better acting from Amber Heard. Okay.
This is what you don't do when you call 911.
Okay. Yes. All right. So, so this is the just to set this up. This is the neighbor that called 911. This was David's neighbor. So here we go.
Yes, this is Judy Procknell, and I live at 1055 Ramsdale Drive. Yeah. I think there's been a murder next door.
What's going on?
Well, we've noticed that they haven't been around, and there were Christmas presents on the stoop. So I went over there, and there's a dog in the house, and there's definitely some bodies in the living room.
Oh, okay. Stay on the line with me just a minute. Do you know what their address is?
Well, I'm 1055, and they would be to the west of me.
Okay, the house. So
like 1050 or whatever.
Okay, so if I'm facing and looking at your house, Judy, would it be the house to the right or the left?
If you're facing my house, it would be your right.
To the right. What are you seeing in there?
It just looks like there's a pile of bodies and one, like the head is eaten off.
Oh, no.
I suppose by the dog. And my husband thought they were dummies, but the hands look real. And they would have been there since before Christmas.
Okay, and so you haven't seen...
And all their Christmas lights are still on in the house. And my husband said he saw a gun.
On the floor?
Yeah.
Okay. Stay on the line with me just a minute.
You'd be a husband, wife, and child.
Stay on the line with me. I'll get some people rolling over there. You saw Christmas presents?
Colin, I'm calling 911.
You saw presents inside the home too?
There's presents on the front step, and they've been there since before Christmas. And there's definite. I just peeked in the front window, and it's gross. Colin, what's their address? 1051 Ramsdale Drive.
Okay,
Don't look in the window, Laurie.
1051 Ramsdale Drive. Okay.
Right.
And You said that.
Ray, don't look in there. No.
So it looks
Don't
like
look in there.
it looks like multiple bodies inside.
Yes.
And it looks like the dog may have been.
Yes.
Okay. You saw the gun on the floor there?
Yes, my husband saw it. He's not here right now. He's talking to the other neighbor. We hadn't seen any movement over there. We just thought they were gone for Christmas, and we came back from Florida this week, and we still hadn't seen, and the presents were still there, so my husband went over there to check.
Okay. I thought they were gone for Christmas. Haven't seen any movement.
So there hasn't been anything movement there since before Christmas. They haven't shoveled. Excuse me, I think I have to throw up.
Okay, yeah, okay, ma'am. I won't keep you any longer, okay, Judy?
Okay, thank
I appreciate the call. I got help coming, okay?
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to throw up after listening to that.
Okay, I have a few questions that I wrote down here as I was listening to that.
Yeah, there's a dummy there, but dummy's on the phone, not a dummy on the ground in the house.
Okay, so you said that the neighbors had not seen any presents on the porch before this, but yet she says that there's been presents on the porch since before Christmas.
Right. And she's saying that, and even Dan Jr., who dropped them off, doesn't say he dropped them off before Christmas. And like I said, the majority of people, when asked, when you read through the police reports, in fact, most of them say January 10th is when they noticed the presence on the front door. And she keeps pushing. Everything with her is before Christmas, before Christmas. They must have been there since before Christmas. Well, even by the own police's so-called investigation, they put their deaths after Christmas.
And doesn't she say that she just returned from Florida?
Yeah.
How would she know if she was gone?
Thank you. Same question we've been saying.
Okay. All right. Then I'm on the right track here, because I guys, I interviewed Mama Gamer, and I thought that I was going to get something new or something like worth anything, and she really didn't know too much of anything. She was concentrating on the foot. It was all about the foot. It was the foot. And so then I got in touch. She put me in touch with Judy. I was supposed to come on and interview them together, and then some stuff happened, and I distanced myself from that, and I wanted no part of it. So I didn't really listen or concentrate on listening to this, but she's contradicting herself entirely the way through this whole 911 call. She said she's gone to Florida, yet she's stating that this happened, it had to be before Christmas. She says she saw a gun on the floor. Where would she have had to look in the window to see a gun? Or let me rephrase the question. What would she have seen if she looked in the window? Do we know what she actually saw?
She claims that she saw Camille's rear end, that she saw a hand.
Okay.
She doesn't claim whose hand it was, as far as I know. But there was only one on David and one on Ronnie, so she had two that she could have seen.
So she could have actually seen from the front. Okay, because I'm going to stop this.
I know the window looks tall, but Judy is, I guess, tall enough to look through it from what she says.
Okay, I'm going to, oops, wrong one. Just a second here. Let me pull this up here. Okay, so this is the front of the house. And so this would have been the window she would have looked into the front, and here's the front door, correct? That's where the presents were?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just want to know what what prompts somebody to go look into the window? I mean, could you imagine if they had not been dead and they were alive, and then all of a sudden you see a neighbor peeping? I don't know. That's just always something that's bugged me. I mean,
I think it
I'm
was
glad
the
that
dog.
somebody. I mean, yeah, but my dog peeks through the window all the time. Thankfully, our neighbors don't peep in.
My question has to do with the presents, because she's very adamant that says that the presents have been on the porch since before Christmas, but yet other neighbors are saying that they didn't see them at all until that day. And how would she know if she was gone to Florida for that period of time?
Right. Well, most of the neighbors, there are like maybe one who says that they saw them around Christmas time, but the majority of them say January 10th. Now, when Sophia or Greg, and I know Greg has a sore tooth, so I'm not trying to keep Greg out of it, but when did Dan Jr. gave 2 different dates of when he supposedly dropped them off. Do you guys remember which those dates?
Now, Dan Jr. is who?
David's
brother.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dan Jr. told the media that he wasn't sure what day he dropped them off. It was either December 26th or December 27th. But in the police reports, it clearly says that he dropped them off on December 28th of 2014.
But yet the neighbors don't notice it. The majority of the neighbors don't notice it until January 10th. So I'm thinking that people would notice presents sitting there for almost a month versus just a few days.
Wouldn't the mailman notice that?
I would think so.
I mean, if you're sitting there and you have presents on there, and you're a mailman, you go there 6 days a week to a house and you see a present there. The presents are there 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Wouldn't you start to wonder, why are these presents still on there? Or is there something wrong?
Exactly.
He may not have noticed them because of where the actual mailboxes are. They're actually on next to the sidewalk, so it's not like the mailman goes up to David's house or anything.
Okay.
They're on the sidewalk. But he would have noticed all the mail. Obviously, it's like, okay, nobody's picking up any mail in this mailbox.
Right. Wow. Eric and Jeff, jump in here. Do you have questions?
I'm taking notes.
Because you guys, Jeff or Eric, me too.
I always learn something new every time I do a broadcast with about this subject from many of these guys. That's why I always pull notes out.
Gotcha.
I mean, this is totally ridiculous. If you want my commentary here about these packages that are neatly stacked, not wet, not weathered, after sitting there all that time on the front porch. If you believe that, then I got some freaking prime ocean front real estate to sell you in Wyoming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone want to buy it?
Pretty brave.
You mentioned a good point here. They're not wet. They're not weathered. They're not. I mean, if something we're talking about.
How many weeks were we talking to? I think it was 2.
We're talking Minnesota here, guys.
These were sitting there and look at them. I mean, they're not been knocked over. I mean, that's ridiculous. That stood out to me definitely.
Somebody says in the chat, "There's no way presents were there more than a day."
Exactly.
Well, we also this is not the way that you see them in the photos is not how Colin found them. Colin said that they were actually scattered, and so he picked them up. What you're seeing here is how Colin stacks them here.
So they were scattered on the wet,
Judy's
snowy
husband.
ground. At that,
okay, Colin is
they just miraculously ended up
husband.
looking like that.
Okay.
Come on, man.
And I looked up the weather. I looked up the weather for Apple Valley, and in that time frame between Christmas and when the bodies were found, they did not really have any snowfall. What you see is what was really on the ground prior to that, and nothing really else, came down. So the fact that Judy was making the comment about, well, they're not even shoveling, there was nothing to shovel.
Gotcha.
At least according to the weather.
And according to her, she was in Florida. How would she even know if they were out shoveling?
Exactly.
I mean, that's something that I keep going back to, is that she's portraying herself as having knowledge or of having, being some sort of, witness to this, yet she claims that they were gone to Florida and they had just gotten back.
Right.
Very
and
interesting.
She didn't even know the house address. So how much could she know these people?
Right. Now, was David and his wife, were they like loners? Did they have a lot of friends? I mean, I'm sorry, but these, I mean, even if they were outside, wouldn't an animal come up to them or a dog? I mean, come on. They don't even look like they're weathered.
It's just really good paper. It's the best wrapping paper.
Really good paper.
Yeah.
That is not
That's what
dollar
you need.
store paper, let me tell you, okay?
You build a house with that.
Withstand
Now,
anything. That
I was really concerned about the fact that she was saying that the dog, it looks like the dog ate him. Like, how do you know? Have you seen dead bodies where dogs are eating them or something? To me, that was always kind of strange. Just blame the dog for the way that the bodies look. I thought was really odd.
Well, if she only saw the buttocks of one person and a couple of hands, how would she know?
Well, what was left of David's head, I'm sure, was probably visible.
Okay. Eric, do you remember when we covered this back in 2016? And we actually looked at crime scene photos, and there was something that had to do with a toilet. And if I remember correctly, drywall. Do you remember that?
I do.
What am I thinking of?
I'm trying to put it in my head too.
The basement.
Yeah, what was the basement? Yeah.
Because I think what I'm remembering about the toilet was the water was the toilet hadn't been used in a while, and it was dried up, and there was I think there was dried urine in it.
Yeah,
like a paper towel.
Yeah.
The thing about the toilet was, did the dog need to flush it? And of course, the counterpoint would be, well, some toilets just run or self and fill, but that toilet, if it was indeed running and filling, it wouldn't have looked like that.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And okay, so now let's. This is what I want to ask you guys, and I don't know if you know it or not. Okay, so the dog was in this house with them for whatever period of time. Was there water available for 2 weeks for this dog?
For it's 3 weeks, but
3 weeks.
I'm not
Was
sure.
Because a dog is going to need water to stay alive. Correct?
Correct.
I
And
think
for their
so.
narrative, I would think that there was not enough water for their narrative, not for what the evidence says, but for
Right.
their narrative.
From their narrative, because the dog can survive. I mean, if he did consume parts of the body, that's fine, but he would still need water.
Yep.
And
I think didn't Sophia, didn't you find where there may have been like a water and food bowl by the rear slider?
The rear slider is usually where they the rear slider and the kitchen. There was the water cooler, and right by the water cooler is where they used to keep the bowls for the dog.
Okay.
And I found that in the day one journal, but you had to zoom in really zoom in to see it. And for some reason, those bowls are not there that we can see in the crime scene. But there is dog food in that exact area. There's 2 bags.
So he could have very well fed himself to the dog food, and
Yes.
because I know, even my dog or my cat, if her bowl even gets a quarter of the way, she's over there, pawing at the bag. So they're well aware of where their food source is. Okay. Wow. So the 911 call is made. The police come. Why don't you guys take it from there?
I'm going to send you the full 13-minute video for that too.
Okay.
So the police get there, they look through the window, they secure the scene. They notice that the rear slider is unlocked 1/4 inch, And so they also, two of the officers, I believe, they report some type of a very foul stench related to dead bodies. They search around the whole house. They notice that the dog is there, and so they have to call a special police officer who has a catch pole to take that dog out. So once they get the dog out, then they go through the house. Two of them do, and they clear that house. And then they go outside and they wait for the Minnesota BCA to show up. Then they go through the house a second time, and that's when they start looking for, that's when they see the bodies. They start basically marking everything down. So, and they miss two bullets while they're there.
I
So
read that. Yeah.
They find them later. They find one a couple days later. Or actually, they don't find any of them. The cleaning crew finds one a couple days later that will be tied to Rania, tied to her blood. Then 1 month later, they find a bullet that's tied to David, but it doesn't have his blood on it. So they never find any bullets that have David's blood on them, which is pretty strange, I think.
Wow. Yeah, that is pretty strange.
But somehow his blood gets on the magazine of that gun. So he must have been wounded at some point. And that's always been another strange thing. Then you have some missing DNA. You have DNA that is not tied to David, Rania, or his wife. So there's somebody else in that house too, if not several people.
Wow. There was something that I don't remember who I heard it from. It might have been in your group. But there was something that David, there was like a 3 written next to him that somebody is maybe saying that he's trying to tell people there was 3 people in there.
Maybe the way that his fingers were.
It was something. It was a number 3.
And here's the thing with the fingers. In one of the initial photos, it shows the index finger and the thumb touching with the other 3 fingers up in the air. But then and that was in a later photo. But in the very first photo that they took, all 4 fingers are up in the air and the thumb is out to the side. I've done a video on this. So that tells me that someone was manipulating to get the other photo done. So why are they manipulating the hand? The hand is not going to move. The initial photo shows the hand open, fingers up.
Wouldn't it be almost impossible to move the fingers through rigor mortis?
No, the rigor was done by this point.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. It would have been. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So that, and this is the problem. And with the initial drawing, it shows that Rania is lying on her left side between her mom's legs with her head up toward the crotch area, and in fact is described as such. But then in the photo that we have, her body is now moved and lying on top of her mom's legs close to her dad. So someone is moving things. We have proof, and I did a video on this as well, proof that someone was moving the scalp piece on the Quran. Several photos, and I show the progression of this movement of the scalp piece. Why are they moving it to take photos? It just makes no sense. There's complete manipulation of evidence within that house.
Right. And guys, I'm going to make sure that all of the links to Greg's channel, so that you can see, Catherine, Sophia, and Greg's videos that they've done a fantastic job putting all of this together for you, on the channel, and spent a lot of time making videos. And you guys have. When did you start researching this? Straight out of the bat? I mean, what made you guys start? Was this?
I started, with Sophia. I started December 2017, the end of December 2017, when the documentary hit Netflix, and Greg was years ahead of us.
Yeah. Sophia and I started about the same time.
And Greg, when did you start?
I started January 19th, 2015, so 2 days after the bodies were found.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, this is something that you've watched the progression of everything happening here. So the police go in. The police go in, and
Definitely.
I want to stop it right here. This is something that everybody has a question about. This right here on the wall. Can you give us an explanation? Because I know that his wife, she was Muslim, correct? Or her family was.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. And what I'm trying to find the reasoning behind it, because David wasn't, I don't even think he was converting to Islam. So the fact that this is written in blood on the wall, I don't know if you guys can see it. What does it say?
Allahu Akbar.
Okay, so that would be in relation to the Islam faith. So what is the reasoning behind? I mean, it doesn't, to me, this part does not make sense.
Nope. I believe it was the police chief that stated he felt that it was David's final slam against Kamel and her religion, but that makes no sense. He's never, condemned her or her religion.
Well, and they have no proof that David wrote that. They do not know who wrote that. They know it was in Kamel's blood, which kind of goes against the whole pack theory, aside from her being shot twice. But they don't know who actually wrote this. So why are they just saying that David did? It's not their job is to find out who wrote this, not to just guess and then run with it.
Right. So yeah, because that's very interesting. All right, guys, we're going to take a couple-minute break so you guys can go to the bathroom and get some coffee. And when we come back, I'm going to pull this over to Eric, and he can take over the rest of the time. Are you ready for that?
I also want to hear from Jaime. I want to hear his chat with my fan club. We got to get to that too.
I don't know if Lukewarm Eric's ready to take over everything, but I'm scrambling now for something to play during the break. No, I got something. Unless you guys got something.
Just sing.
I was actually
sing to us.
I was going to play music. I was going to play music. So,
Do it.
All right.
You gonna play some Phil Collins for me or what?
No, I was just actually going to play the StreamYard music. So
I just
so
we
time
already.
Yeah,
Time
so
flies.
So everybody, can everybody mute out and be back at 14 after?
Cool.
Okay. All right. Let's turn the music off. There we go. Eric, you wanted something to play?
Yeah, I got a little screen share to intro us in. I know you've used it a bunch of times. And it works, because this is what it's all about. Straight out of Jeff Hayes' book.
So large, so vast, will escape the perception. Those who will see it will be thought of as insane. We will create separate fronts to prevent them from seeing the connection between us. We will behave as if we are not connected to the illusion of life. Our goal will be accomplished one drop at a time, so as to never bring suspicion upon ourselves. This will also prevent them from seeing the changes as they occur. We will work together always and will remain bound by blood and secrecy. Death will come to he who speaks. We will keep the lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways so they will never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators, and sedatives in the food and water. They will also put in the air. They will be blanketed by poisons everywhere they turn. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them. What they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We will create medicine that will make them sicker and cause other diseases for which we will create yet more medicine. We will render them docile and weak before our power. Their minds will belong to us and they will do as we say. If they refuse, we shall find ways to implement mind-altering technology into their lives. We will use fear as a weapon. We will establish their governments and establish opposites within. We will own both sides. They will perform the labor for us and will prosper from their toil. Our families will never mix with theirs. Our blood must remain pure, for it's the way. We will make them kill each other when it suits us. We will keep them separated from the oneness by dogma and religion. We will control all actions, tell them what to think and how. We will guide them kindly and gently, letting them think they are guiding themselves when they are not. We will guide them kindly and gently, letting them think they are guiding themselves when they are not. We will ferment animosity between them through our factions. When a light shine down among them, we shall extinguish it by ridicule or death, whichever suits us best. We will make them rip each other's hearts apart and kill their own children. They will bathe in their own blood, kill their neighbors for as long as we see fit. We will benefit greatly from this, but they will not see us. For they cannot see us. We will continue to prosper from their wars and their deaths. We will make them live in fear. We will use all of their tools and all of our tools to accomplish this. The tools will be provided by the labor. We will make them hate themselves and their neighbors. We will always hide the divine truth from them. We are all one. This they must never know. We will make them hate themselves and their neighbors. We will always hide the divine truth from them. We are all one. This they must never know. Drop by drop. Drop by drop, we will advance our goal. We will take over their land, resources, and wealth, and exercise total control over them. We will deceive them into accepting laws that will steal the little freedom they still have left. We will establish a money system that will imprison them forever, keeping them and their children in debt. When they shall band together, we shall accuse them of crimes and present a different story to the world For we shall own all the media. When they shall rise up against us, we shall crush them like insects, for they are less than that. They will be helpless to do anything, for they will have no weapons. We will recruit some of their own to carry out our plan. We will promise them eternal life. Eternal life they will never have, for they are not of us. The truth will be hidden in their face, so close they will not be able to even focus on it until it's too late. Oh yes, as the grand illusion of freedom will be, that they will never have or never know. They are our slaves. When all is in place, the reality we will have created for them will own them. Their minds will be bound by their beliefs, the beliefs we have established from time immemorial. But if they ever find out they are equal, we shall perish then. This they must never know. If they ever find out that together they can vanquish us, they will take action. They must never, ever find out what we have done. For if they do, we shall have no place to run. No one shall give us shelter. This is the secret covenant by which we shall live the rest of our present and future lives. For this reality will transcend many generations and lifespans. This covenant is sealed by blood, our blood. None are hopelessly enslaved. For those who falsely believe that they are free. You as an individual are so handicapped that coming face to face with a conspiracy, a monstrous conspiracy that no one can even believe it exists. The American mind simply has not come to the realization of the evil which has been introduced into our mindsets. Give me control of the nation's money supply. Give me the banks. And I care not who makes the laws. I am above them. We shall have world government, whether or not we like it. The only question is whether world government will be achieved by conquest or by consent. Welcome to the resistance. Peace.
That was the secret covenant, and you can say that it's not true, just like the protocols of the learned elders of Zion. You can say they're not true, but you cannot convince me that each one of those protocols are not coming into fruition. So, prophetic words there. So this is the second half. We are welcoming the Gray Stage, talking about the David Crowley murders, suicide, whatever it is, whatever side you take. We got hot Greg here. Too funny. All right, so
you mentioned Greg Fernandez, hot Greg. So
hot Greg.
anytime you mention hot Greg, that's what you're gonna get.
Hot. That call. All right, so it's so funny.
anything is better than Phil Collins. When it comes to Greg, anything is better than Phil Collins.
Welcome,
so Greg
to
has
Greg's
sent me a couple of videos that we're going to play, but we're going to play it in the background or while we're talking.
Yeah.
So let's continue with this one here, and then I will play the other one. So this was there's a better picture of it. So when we started taking our break, we were talking about this. This is Allah Akbar, correct?
Yes. Yep. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Okay. And so I'm going to turn it over to Eric, and he can go from here.
What are you turning over to me?
You're going to run. You want me to continue?
The video?
No. Do you want the questions?
Oh, all right. Sure.
Okay.
Well, tell us about this. There's been a debate that this wasn't spelled right, but then the ancient text says it was. What's your take on that, guys and gals?
I would like to know why the clock is still there. Why that wasn't taken down so they could write it easier.
Oh, good question.
Or knocked off even while they were writing it. How is it still sitting there with all that frantic activity around it, and it hasn't been knocked askew?
What time is it? Just a minute past a freckle and a mole catching up.
What?
Repeat that, Jamie.
Yeah, somebody will be asking what time it is. Just a minute past a freckle and a mole catching up, but the clock is still stuck on the wall. But there's one question. There's one question for everybody, right? Is it true that the husband of Judy was the one that said that he found the gun? Well, he didn't found the gun, but he saw a gun on the floor in the lounge room.
Yes.
Yes, it was Colin Procknell. He was the very first one to find the bodies. He went back and told Judy what he had seen, and she was like, "No way."
Okay, let me ask you a question. What prompted him to even go over to the house?
I think they were on their way back from dropping a sister or sister-in-law off at the airport, and when they came back, they were talking about the presents and noticed that they had been scattered, and I guess he decided to go over there and fix them, and
okay,
and that's what started it all. And somebody knocked on the door and gave Judy a script, and she called 911. I'm being sarcastic.
They actually both called. They both
Not
called
really,
911 too. So you can compare Judy's 911 call to Colin's 911 call, and they're very different.
Now, wait a minute. They both called 911?
They did.
And we have the actual transcripts of both of those calls, which I think are better than even her audio. The audio is like, okay, but having the actual transcript, I think is really, I got more from that transcript than I did from her call.
And what was the difference between the two?
Colin was he doesn't mention the dog eating any bodies. He doesn't mention a murder or a suicide. He calls to have somebody come over to do a welfare check. That's really it. So he does the right thing, and I don't know. So people can read those if you want to read both of those, the transcripts, which we've had for years. And Judy kept telling us, watch, or once you listen to my audio or something like that, I guess that was supposed to convince us that, I don't know. It's really hard to kind of understand what she's talking about most of the time. But I just felt like reading the actual transcripts was very helpful. I found it very helpful. It raised more questions for me, definitely, but I'm glad that we have those. So here we have a lot of, this is This video, by the way, we just got recently too. We didn't get this until last summer or something. And I think we played it on Eric and Jamie's show a while ago. Once we first got it, we played it there and kind of went through it. And the 911 call, but we could not really get past the first few minutes of the 911 call, if I remember correctly. But that was pretty funny. There's the Allahu Akbar, or not. There's the submit to Allah, which is spelled
Submit to
differently
Allah
here.
now. Mm-hmm.
Some
So it
people
must
say
be the
that that's the
content.
first suicide note.
Yeah, they were
But
calling that a suicide note.
I mean, there's no way to know when that was written
Right.
or
And
Yeah,
who wrote it.
if you read his journal, he was making future plans for him and his family.
All the way through it, he was making future plans.
So this wasn't a journal of somebody who was introverted, depressed, beside himself, planning on ending it all. To me, and this is just my personal opinion, after looking at all of this, if David had plans on doing something this tragic, he wouldn't have taken his daughter and his wife with him.
Right. He's not only planning for
he would have gone somewhere, done it himself, and that would have been it.
Yeah, he's planning for his future. He's planning for his daughter's future 20 years down. So he's not planning short-term future. He's planning long-term future for all of his family.
Right.
If you read those journals, you can clearly see that.
And even his computer searches at the very end, those weren't even suspect. They didn't show anything crazy. They didn't show him searching on how to stage the house and kill his family. Nothing like that.
Whose gun was it?
It was his.
Okay.
Which is, all of this is what led the police to say he quote unquote snapped, because they found no motive whatsoever and everything seemed normal. And then this. So they said, oh, well, then he must have snapped.
Something I've come to researching over personal experience over the last few years is I know that there are 3 motives for murder. And that is revenge, money, and love.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Those are the 3 motives for murder. And to me, this doesn't, it wasn't for money. If it was money, it had to do with the video, with his script. If it was for revenge, it would have to do with his script. I don't see it happen. I don't see, either one of them having an affair and, having it be for a love or anything like that. It just seems so weird that all of a sudden, he gets the okay for this to move forward, and all of a sudden he decides, well, that's it, I'm going to end it all.
Right. It makes no sense.
It's years of hard work. And he's poured his soul into this, and all of a sudden they're going to just call it quits. I don't understand that.
I have 2 more I'm going to play. Go ahead, Eric. Get out your notebook.
What would you like to talk about now?
I want to talk about me. There we go. Welcome. After hours.
Oh yeah.
I am your hot host.
This is Greg.
It's hot time.
After dark.
That was good.
Fans only.
Perfect.
Hot fans
That was
only.
like a wow.
Send me your money.
I'm waiting for some proof that this actually went down the way they said it did, because there's thousands of pieces of evidence that say otherwise.
Yeah, you and me both.
What was the final
seen
deposition
any
of what was the final deposition of the police? What was their conclusion?
Their conclusion was that it was exceptionally cleared, that because there was no struggle, that there was no forced entry, and that they couldn't find anybody else to be a suspect, that David was guilty, and that it was exceptionally cleared because he couldn't stand trial. He was dead.
Yeah, they couldn't find any evidence that anybody else did it. So they just tried to make it seem like, well, because we couldn't find any proof that anyone else did it, it must have been David. But they leave out the real key is that they never found any evidence that David did it.
Yeah.
So they have no idea who did this at all.
And they didn't look at anybody else. They only looked at David.
Didn't they think it was awfully suspicious that here he has a video or a script or a planned movie, whatever you want to call it, for this dystopic 1984 New World Order video to come out to show the elite and what they have planned for us. And then all of a sudden he ends up dead.
Well, that was why they had to basically sell it. Certain people were selling it that the deal was dead. So they needed to sell it to the cops that there was no deal. It came out later that yes, there actually was.
Yeah,
so there's people that still think there was no deal.
Right. It's that, and the fact that they say that him writing the script kind of drove him crazy and into depression. So therefore he just kind of, went one day and killed everybody. But I want to go back to the, they had no proof and there's no evidence whatsoever to show David did this, but there is evidence that someone else was involved, but they didn't follow that through. Like Greg was saying earlier, we have a questionable DNA. We have David's prints missing from everywhere, his blood missing from the scene with the exception of the magazine, which was inside the gun. Ranya's blood missing from the scene. You have
what do you mean by missing?
It's not there. The only blood
somebody cleaned it up.
We don't know. No, we don't know if it was cleaned up. We don't know if there was something put down. We don't know if they were killed in we don't know. All we know is that all of the blood they tested belongs to Kamel with the exception of the blood on the magazine that was inside the gun. All that blood you see was Kamel's.
Correct. All the ones that they tested. They took other samples and more than half of them weren't even tested.
So where's David's blood? Where's Ranya's blood? They were both shot in the head, but it's missing from the scene. There's no blood spatter patterns that show high velocity. We know according to the autopsies, there were 4 gunshot wounds to 3 heads. And there is yet not one section of evidence that shows high velocity blood spatter from any head wounds. And they don't even question this. So there was evidence to show that it wasn't David.
They were killed somewhere else.
We don't know. I mean, that's just it. The gunshots probably. I mean, we know Kamel was injured in that living room. Her blood is on the floor. Her blood's on the wall. But as far as David and Ranya, yeah, where were they killed? Where's their blood?
Yeah, and Deb in the chat room, she said head wounds bleed a ton.
Yes.
Absolutely they do.
And
not
if
to mention
you
the spatter, the splatter of it would have been all over. It would have literally, if 3 people got shot in the head, you just said 3 people?
3 people, 4 gunshot wounds.
Okay, so 3 people get shot in the head, that it would have looked like it would have been unbelievable in that room.
Yep.
Yeah. And you would have seen high velocity gun spatter, but there's
on the wall, whether it be on the walls, whether it be on the floor, whether it be on each other.
Correct.
The ceiling.
On the ceiling, on the furniture.
Correct.
Eric, what do you think about this?
I think it's all BS. I mean, everything you see.
You've been looking at this.
You want to know something? I have a dog. Just personal experience. Very smart. Border Collie mix, and he can open doors and locks, which she can, I should say. Sorry, Veda, I misgendered you. But I digress. But she can open doors. If dog's in a panic mode like that. Anyway, yeah. I mean, there's so much
fire a gun
here. And forget open the doors, but the back door was opened a crack. That dog surely would have got out, especially if it's starving. even though there was a bag of food, dog food, unopened on the counter. But I digressed again. I mean, this case is so frustrating.
You know, and that's what I have a huge issue about with the back door being, even if it's a fourth of an inch open, it's still open. And the police are saying that there's no forced entry. How can they say that? They don't know. That back door was broken.
And the dog would have got out. Straight up.
I honestly don't believe that the dog was there the whole entire time.
No, me
None
neither.
of this, you know,
Glad you brought
listening
that
to
up.
this now, none of this makes sense to me. Absolutely none of it, because, you know, you've got so many questions. I mean, just us alone in the last 15 minutes have raised 20 questions in my head.
Yeah. But see, you don't get this side of the story when you are talking to the others.
No, you don't. No, you don't. All
And
you
they
get
shut
is-
you down if you have any type of questions.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't even think it's cognitive dissonance. I think that some of these people are just there to freaking shut down the official story because it would have been that big. Other ones, it may very well be, but just the whole thing is, there's so much. Like, we looked at the crime scene photos a lot of times, all of us have, and there would be an unbelievable amount of dog feces and pee from the dog everywhere, and there wasn't.
Correct.
I mean, right there is just you cannot debate that.
Correct.
It's common sense. It doesn't take a genius to freaking make that observation.
This is the first time. I mean, I've looked at. I mean, Eric and I, we've looked at, you know, shootings and things and crime scenes since 2016, and this is the first one that I've looked at where I literally have more questions than answers.
Yeah. I have actually researched quite a few other cases, and you look at the police reports, you look at the photos, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is totally what they're saying. And then you look at this case and nothing lines up. Not the DNA, not the photos, not the police reports towards the photos. I mean, I can't even get my bearings when you look at the photos. I get so turned around and I have no idea like how big the house is, the living room and stuff, until you like pan out or watch that video. Where other crime scenes, I don't have that issue.
Mm-hmm.
And
Kay Smalls has a question. She says, I have looked everywhere for the interview of David actually stating no when he was asked if he was suicidal.
That is with Alex Jones, and I think it was him and Danny August Mason. Right. I think Greg has it on his channel.
Okay. Kay, what I'll do is I will put the link to Greg's channel down in the description below when we're done here, so that you can go over and take a look at the channel with literally tons of videos on this.
Too much.
And there's something else I wanted to bring out here too, and what I find, you know, that flabbergasts me, especially with the police officers, is every single one of them, when you're reading their handwritten notes and their handwritten reports from when they first walk in, every single one, without exception, states the bodies were in advanced decomposition. Now, and here is what tells me that a narrative was begun from the very beginning. Now, I don't know how many people know about how decomp works, but in an advanced stage of decomp, when it gets to that point, they're basically becoming liquefied. Yes. Everything's starting to really fall apart. Mm-hmm. These bodies were still intact. They were able to be autopsied. Organs were able to be, you know, sliced and taking tissue samples. That's not advanced decomp.
No, that's not.
So why are they saying that? Why is the, you know, like Sophia was pointing, I think it was Sophia just said a few minutes ago, or Greg, that was saying, you know, right away, you know, no forced entry. Okay, no forced entry, advanced decomp. Okay, we have a back door that's open and ajar. Like, you know, they were saying, you don't need to have forced entry. You have an open door. It's not advanced. It's early to moderate. The autopsy themselves state early to moderate. What's the time frame for early to moderate? Anywhere from 0 to about 10 days, 0 to 10 days. is the early to moderate stages of decomp, and then changes then begin after that. And I'm like, okay, they know this. Anybody knows this. The ME themselves says it's early to moderate, which then tells you they were not dead at Christmas. They were dead sometime after January 1st, but they don't even talk about that. And when we bring that up, we're called lunatics and crazy. And what the flip do we know? And I'm like, okay, I think we know a little bit more than what is being stated. And that's just what frustrates. I'm sorry, I'm getting upset because it just really makes me angry. But the evidence and the proof is so clear. Those bodies were not there for very long. They were murdered, all three of them. David's blood is on a magazine inside the weapon. How is he bleeding prior to shooting himself, supposedly? None of this is talked about or thought about.
And the ME didn't note any type of injuries on David besides the gunshot wound.
Correct.
So how is he bleeding?
All right, I'm going to go complete conspiracy theorist on us right now.
Not you. No.
That's what you do best.
Holy moly, get your
Holy moly.
Here's
Here's a shock to everybody, but I'm going to do this. Okay.
That's what we all do best.
We know that the police, the Brotherhood of the Police, most of them are Freemasons.
And they are. Especially in this case.
Yep.
Okay. So let's just put it out there. If this was done by the people that didn't want this released or wanted to shut David up, the police would be in on the cover-up anyways.
Yes, they would.
Well, that's always been the question about that 2012 trailer. Why is there a Mason apron in that trailer with the guy chopping off people's heads? I think David, once he put that in there, which I don't understand why he did that, I think that made him a very big target right there. It was one of the reasons why I didn't really like David's work, because of that trailer, the 2012 trailer, which I saw as basically fear porn for what they were putting in there. It was very strange. Obviously, my view has changed somewhat on it, but.
K Small says that the trailer showed a Freemason next to the guillotine at the apron, and that is, I have always said,
that's right.
I have said from the beginning when I first saw that was the reason. That was what, that was my reasoning as to what it was that ultimately got them killed, was that particular scene. I'm going to try to pull it up here in a second.
Yeah, David actually he got called out on it. There was someone who left a comment who was a Mason and said, "Hey, if you want this script to have any credibility or blah blah blah, get rid of that." Yeah. So David was told to get rid of that, and he did. If you read his 2014 script, there's no mention of any Freemasons or anything like that in there.
I'm gonna play it over here, and I'm gonna pull it up and just show everybody what we're talking about, in case, because it's very quick. It's almost if you blink, you miss it. So I'm gonna actually pull it up here, because that's the reason. There was a YouTuber back in 2014 and 15. Her name was C. Everett or something like that, and she did a video. She actually explaining what that scene was about, and showed that and talked about the Freemason connection to it. And after I watched that and I started doing a little bit of research, that's when I realized that this probably could have been the one thing that was responsible for this, or part of it was responsible for it. Let's see if I can find it.
And it's interesting to note that soon after all of this, that Danny August Mason was inducted into Freemasonry, if that's how you want to call it. He became a Freemason very shortly after this whole thing happened.
And wasn't there something pertaining to the Michaels?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
With the Michaels and Freemasons?
No, with the Michaels and their hand in all of this. Weren't they?
I never heard.
Yeah,
of
they've been blamed, I'm sure, but I haven't seen anything that would point to their involvement. I actually think a lot of people had motive that to make sure David did not die.
And
that would include some of these Gray State goons too, because with David dead, the whole project is dead, and the people that were trying to actually mooch off of David, now what? They have nothing.
Now, after this happened, they did try to release this, which is what I thought was kind of interesting, because they kind of gave us the impression that they were going to move forward without him.
Correct. But that failed. Thankfully, that failed, because who is going to go forward? What company in their right mind is going to go forward with the project created by someone that everyone thinks shot his 5-year-old daughter? The project is dead at that point. I don't see any reasonable person, even in Hollywood, even in how crazy Hollywood is. I just don't see that someone would say, yeah, this is great. That sounds like an awesome thing. He killed a 5-year-old child, and let's make this movie. I don't know. I just don't buy it. Oh, look at that. There it is.
Yeah, I'm going to slow it down real slow here for us.
There he is.
Right there was to me, it said a lot right there. If you guys don't
Absolutely.
know that right there is the Freemason apron.
Now, why put that in there? Why put the guillotine in there? Why put the Mason apron in there? Who thought this was a good thing?
I've always thought that this scene right here was what was responsible for their death right here. But that's just me.
But in the conspiracy realm, the guillotine is actually a very prominent thing. In fact, we know that the governments, even our own, have, built more guillotines, and they're everywhere. So, to have that in there doesn't surprise me at all. I would be surprised if it wasn't in. However, the Mason apron is okay, wow. Unless he's trying to visually show that a lot of what's being done and who's behind and basically responsible, kind of pulling the switch, so to speak, are the Masons. Is that what he's trying to say?
What's interesting is if you read his scripts, I don't think he mentions the Masons at all in his scripts.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it in the scripts.
Well, I think this was a subtle message.
Yeah.
I would just like to know whose apron it is, because as far as I know, nobody on his team was a Mason at that time.
Yeah, unless he made one for a prop, I don't know.
Oh, that's true. He probably could have.
Interesting.
Speaking of props, in David's office bedroom, there's a Bohemian Grove statue in there too that I thought was kind of interesting, and I didn't understand what that was until I read David's 2013 script, and it's all about going to the grove and child sacrifice, and it's a pretty interesting
script. The two scripts are different, correct?
Very different.
Yes,
very different.
I
would say the 2013. Go ahead.
Yeah, the 2013 scripts are more similar to the trailer, but not exactly. And the 2014 script is not as nightmarish.
Because he was told to tone it down, wasn't he?
I think he was. But the 2014 script is much more tame. And so the whole narrative about him spiraling into darkness because he was so involved with the script is just BS.
And also in the journal, doesn't he say that he didn't like the direction of the original script and he wanted it to go in a different way? He didn't, so he decided he didn't want it in that direction. So he rewrote the entire thing.
Yeah, we definitely know that he rewrote it.
Yeah, and because he stated that he didn't like it. It was just not where he had originally wanted. And in fact, I do believe, now don't quote me, but I believe I remember reading that it was Danny August Mason that wanted all of the conspiracy stuff in the original script, and that's why they kind of wrote it that way. And then he's like, no, I want this to go a different way. So he completely rewrote it. Well, almost completely rewrote it.
So the trailer that we have is nothing to the vision that he ultimately saw for it?
Correct.
Correct.
Which, I mean, how many people who pitched in because of the trailer and was expecting to see scenes from the trailer would have been PO'd once that movie came out, because it was not like the trailer at all.
No, and they took out Danny Mason's character is not in the 2014 script, so it's
Right.
not. Yeah, it's everything is gone, including Danny August Mason.
And let me tell you, you read the 2013 script and you see what's going on today, it's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, just almost how spot on he was and how things could be. And I've had nightmares since reading that. So,
Can I get a copy of that?
yeah, I think it's on Greg's.
on my website.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see that. Have you read it? Have you read it, Eric? Jeff? Jamie?
Well,
Nope.
There's only one question on the chat room over on Southern Truth. Is do they believe that David Crowley is related to Alistair Crowley? That's a
question that comes up a lot.
Yeah, no, nobody believes that. Mm-mm.
But it's interesting. He's mentioned like a Crowley curse, but I think that was just, the family thing, him being creative. And he did look up Alistair Crowley right before they died. But he has
and David
acted,
does talk about that.
And he's acted really, really, God, what's the word? I can't think. If somebody asks him on camera if he is related to Alistair Crowley, he just gets really disgusted by that question.
That must come
I
up
can't
a
think of the
lot.
right word.
Annoyed?
Offended?
Yes, annoyed, I guess, would be a good one.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Greg, what's your
Yeah, well, there are some new
Yeah, I'm
people.
supposed to be
There
asking
are some new
questions.
people in the chat room just saying this for the very first time on Southern Truth. But I've been here for a while, guys, doing this. But there's one question. I want to ask. Can we collectively say that David Crowley, his wife, and his daughter was like a sacrificial sacrifice for breaking an oath of some sort?
I don't know
possible.
that. It's possible, but I don't know that for sure.
I going along with what Jamie just asked. We have a situation here in Chicago that's just unfolded in the last couple of days, and it is a man. He's a father of Muslim faith who just murdered his daughter because she shamed the family, and it's what they would refer to as an
honor killing.
An honor killing, exactly. So I think Jamie, is that what you're asking? Could she have possibly done something to the family where this would be an honor killing?
I'd rather not answer.
It seems like in like every one of those cases, though, the father or whoever does it, they take credit for it.
Yeah,
right?
They do.
That would be the big difference. And they probably don't tear up a Quran, as far as I know, either. That's very disrespectful to Muslims, I'm sure.
Okay, well that definitely answers the questions then. Thank you.
An honor killing is always claimed because it's restoring the family's honor.
Okay.
Right. Now, maybe they do it privately. Maybe, I don't know. But I thought it was always public. Every case that I've seen, somebody steps up and says, yep, I did this, and here's why.
Right. Okay. I wanted to ask that question because, it's a couple of people have
It's a great question.
brought it up, so I'm trying to
No, it's a great question.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall questions that, people have asked in the past. So,
but
these are all
Laurie,
questions that we need to ask. We need to ask these questions.
mm-hmm.
Now, what if it was supposed to look like an honor killing?
And they messed up, I guess.
And
they were dropping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, look at everything that's at the crime scene. You got the Allah Akbar on the wall, but it's written in blood, and I don't think we ever see that written in blood. And then you see the Quran, but it's torn up. Why would anybody tear up a holy book?
Right.
And then you have the submit to Allah written in the notebook. We don't know when that was written, though. It could have been written months ago because that notebook has things in there from years before. So,
yeah.
And they flipped to that page. Yeah. So, and
well, you have the thing about that Quran. What I found kind of strange about those pages is the pages are everywhere. So it's like they're not just in one spot. So they're basically saying that David tore up these pages, but he happened to tear some pages where he ended up shooting himself and then falling down too, which doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
But you also have three writings, like you talked about. You have the one on the wall, the one in the office bedroom. They both mention Allah, but the one in the kitchen does not. The typed up note, which they don't know if David wrote that either, but it does not mention Allah or anything.
I was just going to say there was somebody, Cave Smalls again. She said the handwriting on the Post-it notes do not match the notebook.
That is correct.
Wow. Again, the more I research, the more questions I have.
And here's the thing, where you're pointing at where right now the blood spots in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Every police officer, without exception, is taught that when you see blood away from the main scene itself, the main area where the crime, appears to have taken place, and in this particular order, that oftentimes it is the blood of the perpetrator. This is passive. And so that means that whoever was guilty, this is more than likely their blood, but they didn't test it.
Correct. Wow. They didn't test it. A sample was taken, but they didn't test that. And if you look at the wooden floor, you'll also see passive blood drops amongst the other blood drops.
I don't understand why they would not test everything. We're looking at a triple homicide, potentially a triple homicide here. And they're overlooking things that would potentially point to a resolution other than David doing it.
Correct.
That doesn't make any sense. Why? I don't understand why they've left so many why they've dropped the ball so many times in this investigation.
Yeah, they don't test that
Laurie,
bullet, the unspent round.
Laurie, you've just nailed it.
Huh?
Nothing makes sense about it at all.
Well, I mean, everything that I'm hearing points back to a cover-up by the police.
Yes.
I don't come up with any other logical explanation at this point.
And the knife is another piece of a weapon that was in there, which, really doesn't even fit the scene. If he's just going to go and just shoot everybody, why is there a knife? And why is it blade open and locked in place? And why is it on the floor with the blade pointing up toward his head? See right there, you see the fingers? Can you pause that real quick?
Yep, hold on a second.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, I got it.
Not only that, but take a look at that carpet.
Yeah.
3 people just got shot in the head.
It should be soaked with blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like literally like saturated.
Yeah.
And it's not.
That should be the next
yeah, it's coming up here pretty soon, because this is what I want to point out. Because there's the knife and it's blade up pointing toward his head. A knife wouldn't end up like that. Why? Why is there a knife at the scene? And they don't question it.
Wow. And it's covered with blood.
It's camouflage.
Oh, it's yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
It's camouflage.
Yeah.
I got it.
But there is blood on it, I believe. Yeah.
Well, they swabbed it and found some DNA. There's some blood, but it's minute in 3 separate areas.
Mm.
And here it's coming up, right? I think after this. There it is, right there. Now do you see where you have the index finger and the thumb touching and the other 3 fingers up?
Yes.
I have I did a video on this, and I have it where I took the photo of them where they're on the floor, and I zoomed in and I ran it through filters and got it, cleaned it up as best as I could. And you clearly see the index finger pointing up. All 4 fingers are pointing up with the thumb to the side. And here it's not that way. So this is what I'm saying. Somebody had to manipulate that hand to do that. Why?
It's like a white power sign, or it's multiple things. It could be just there's a lot.
It's a Freemason sign. It's a peace sign. It's an okay sign.
It's a Freemason sign. It's a Buddhist sign of the Om. It's there's quite a few different symbolism.
It's a gang sign too. Yeah, throwing up the B. Maybe he's a blood.
So, and the only people in the house at this point is the BCA and the police officers. So that narrows down who could have manipulated that hand. So my question is, why did they do that?
Yeah, Star says it's the 666. Yes, it is.
That's another one for this particular sign. Yes.
Wow.
So that, and again, and this is why I question the police officers. Which one of them was doing it? We know that little Rania her body was moved. We know David's hand was repositioned. We know the skull piece was repositioned and multiple photos taken. Why? What was the purpose of this?
Yeah, and if anybody doubts that any of the bodies were actually moved, just look at the recliner, because there's a huge blood stain there, and that definitely proves that at least at some point somebody's body was moved.
Right.
I think it was before the police enter, obviously, but even that is just strange. I mean, everything just looks staged.
Right.
The whole thing just looks staged. Like they rolled out this red carpet. It almost looks like 3 different crime scenes too. If you can even see that. Like in that photo, that little blue tube is down. In other photos, it's up. There's a lot of things that are moved. It's just weird to me. There's so many strange things about this.
The blue tube is up when the police enter the house, but they knock it down as they walk through.
And they leave it there.
Yeah, they do.
Now this is pieces of the Quran, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Right by David's hand. It's actually under his hand, so he would have had to have ripped the Quran next to his body and then
I see his hand.
Died there. It doesn't.
This is his arm. He's got a bracelet on his wrist.
Yep.
And here's his one of his fingers, and here's his arm, guys. So yeah.
Which is weird that the dog eats, according to the official theory, the dog eats the other hand but doesn't eat this one. There's the bloody Quran, which I don't know if they tested the blood on the Quran.
I don't think so.
I forget. I mean, they actually tried to hide the Quran, tried to hide any Muslim mention.
I remember the writing on the wall didn't come out until a while after as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
They were trying to hide that. They were trying to save
Laurie?
that for Eric Nelson's film.
Yes.
Okay, can you pause it right there and while he asks this question?
Jaime.
Yeah, Laurie, I've got one question that came in the chat room on Southern Truth on YouTube. Didn't the Nazis use the OK symbol too in World War II?
I did not know that.
Did not know that. Actually, yes, I did, because about a couple of years ago, they were utilizing the OK symbol as a white supremacist symbol on social media, and it was Facebook put out a notice that said that they weren't going to allow it anymore. So yeah, I guess I did realize that.
4chan put that out as a joke. It's really not a Nazi symbol.
Was that what it was?
I don't recall it.
Yes, it's just a joke. They're trying to see how quickly the MSM would would grab onto it.
Okay, because it made it circle around social media. Facebook. I remember that was a couple years ago.
People still believe that it is a Nazi symbol and everything. Of course, anything
people make
the
that,
right
people
does.
make that. You know how we see these photos of all of these famous people where they have like one eye covered.
Yeah.
People make that hand sign. I've seen that too. They make the hand sign and put it up to their eye.
Can you pause it there? I wanted to talk to you about this real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And especially if you can go back just to the previous slide on this, the previous one, on the floor, the floor one. We're getting up there. Yeah, like right. Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. Perfect.
Okay.
Now, if you're looking at the stains on the floor, you know how it has that huge like swipe spot where people think like that's where maybe where David's shoulders were or whatever.
Okay.
That's where that's not where his body was. Right there where your cursor is. Back where it was. Yeah, right there. And right above that is where his head was. Right at the very top of that stain, his head was right there.
Right.
And then when I did a filter on this, and Sophia and I will be bringing this out because we're doing more videos on this, but since you're pointing it out here, I did a filter on this particular rug, and I'm pointing at my screen like you can see, right? That's so stupid. Oh, geez.
I love it.
But there's some smear marks on that actually will make the compass sign of the Masons.
Shut up.
I'm not kidding you. I'm, and again, I wish to God I could. If you see, I'll send it to you. If you send me your email, I'll send you. But again, Sophia and I will be covering this in an upcoming video. But these are not the marks of where their bodies were laying. So again, the bodies were not in these positions where these smears are at. So who smeared that? Who moved the bodies?
And that's not blood.
Looking at the rug, we just discussed on how much blood loss. You can actually bleed out on a facial cut.
On a head,
if it's in the right spot, you can actually bleed out. So facial head lacerations, facial lacerations bleed tremendously, and there's nothing to indicate. I mean, there's just not enough blood.
No, and that's not even, I don't even know if that's really blood. Some of that could be some decomp and maybe some old blood. But here's the other kicker. It does not go through to the other side. When they pull back that rug,
it was not saturated, and it did not. That's
Correct.
a wooden floor. It would have dripped down through the floor.
And it doesn't even make it through the other side of the rug.
No, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Okay.
Now, if you go one more frame, and it'll show you the corner of the couch, the opposite corner, right there. That's where Kamel's head was, and she supposedly had 2 gunshot wounds.
Where, the right side or the left
there,
side?
that corner right there on the right
7 and
side.
8?
Go to the right of 37.
Yeah.
And right there is where her head was.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
And
she was under. There were blankets there too, right?
Yes. And here's the thing: is her
The
head
blanket was over
covered
her
with
head.
a blanket.
What's that? What about the blanket?
Her head was covered with a blanket. So when they first came in, they didn't even know her head was gone and that her left hand was missing. The only thing they could see was part that her right hand was missing because her head is under a blanket. But yet the dog ate it.
Yeah. I mean, that whole area should be covered in blood.
Yeah.
And
then Sophia and I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off. I promise I will let her talk just a second. But Sophia and I just did a video not too long ago where we're talking about the blood stains on the clothes. And on Kamel's shirt, you can clearly see the sweater imprint of her left arm on her shirt, which proves her left hand was under her body, which means there's no way paleo could have gotten to that hand and ate it, which means her hand was missing prior to her being positioned there. Okay, I'm sorry, Sophia.
No, it's okay. I pretty much done. I don't think they were killed on the rug.
I don't think they were killed in the house.
Okay, that's fair.
What do you think, Eric? Jeff? Jamie? Cass?
I think they
Isn't
were,
the cutting
I think
off
they were
of
killed in a
hands?
different location.
Was what?
Isn't the cutting off of hands something to do with the Islamic punishing system?
Yes.
Like if you
Yes.
steal
Isn't that first step?
in Islam, they cut your hands off.
That is one of the things they do, yes.
Jamie, what was your question?
Yeah, what I said earlier was, there's a question that popped up. The question that popped up a long time ago when we were doing this. When the writing on the wall in blood, was that the hand that wrote that, or was it another thing like a rag or anything? Was it just the hand that wrote the blood, or was it a rag as well?
We honestly don't know.
But it appears to be just a hand.
Whose blood was it written in?
Camille's.
Allah Akbar on the wall.
Was Kamala's blood on David's hands?
No.
No.
All right. I can't. You guys are blowing my mind here. I seriously, I've never had more questions than answers leaving a freaking interview before.
And it was only Camel's DNA that showed up when they tested the blood from the wall. If David wrote that on there, his skin cells would have been left on that wall mixed in with her blood.
And that is so important. So important.
Well, it's no question. Obviously, it would be. And they missed it. There's no mention of that anywhere. There's no mention of the interconnection of the DNA at all.
Right, because when they did we just covered this in this wall and on our last video, and on the DNA testing of that blood, it is single source, comes back as female, Camille only.
So if you look at the DNA, it looks like Camille staged everything. But the problem is she has at least 2 gunshot wounds to the back of her head, and she has 3 bullets that are connected to her. Only her. So it would be impossible for her to kill them and stage it.
Correct.
We got a comment that says it's clear they used their belief to throw it on on her people. Someone took them out of the house and put them back in.
Yeah, I think so too. And then the police just ruled it a suicide.
And this case is closed, correct?
No.
Yeah, and being was it exceptionally cleared?
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that just generally means that they don't have anyone else at this point in time to blame it on, so they've come to a decision, so they're just going to close the case. That's really all it means.
Does that mean that if they've closed the case and they're not further testing anything, correct?
We don't actually know.
Yeah.
I've received a couple letters from the city attorney, and the last letter that I received basically was calling this homicides, not murder-suicide, and that they were talking about any future court cases. There could be an issue because somebody faked evidence and tried to pass it off as police evidence. Somebody from the other group did that.
From my fan club. My fan club did that.
Wait a minute. You are kidding me, right?
No.
Mm-hmm. It's not very hot either.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? And you probably don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to put it out there because I know they're probably stalking this right now.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do we know if Judy's husband was a Freemason or not?
I don't know. Not that I know of.
Yeah, not that I know of.
Just a question to throw out there.
Yeah, my
She
own
does
personal-
have. Oh, sorry. She has mentioned that there are Masons in her family, but I don't know about her husband.
Can we
I
all
know
just
nothing about
agree
it.
to believe the? Can we all just? No, sorry.
Go ahead,
What's
Jaime.
going on?
Can we all just agree with the original narrative from the police report?
Right.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, only thing I was going to say is that, out of all the people that have been involved in this, I truly believe Colin is probably among the more innocent and just was, happened upon this and then got drug into it because of Judy.
Yeah.
See right there,
Yeah.
number 13. If you can go back a little bit on number 13.
Yes, right there. Oh, there we go. Right there.
That's cast off blood right there. That's not high velocity.
Right.
Yes. Cast off and transfer.
Yep.
Obvious.
So, and then we see skeletonized, correct? To the right of that, almost to the right of the screen, that looks like skeletonized from my view, right there. Right there. Yeah. And then that streak above that is the transfer. And then, like Sophia was saying, the rest of those dots are cast off. This is, so this shows this is medium velocity. So this is an impact wound.
And it's going in several different directions. So there's several different hits or impacts.
Correct.
When we do the video that discusses all of this, we will be pointing everything out.
Okay.
There'll be arrows and everything. It's just taking forever.
Whose foot is this?
That is
the
Camille.
BCA person, the person taking the photo.
Oh, no, there's an actual foot. There's Camille's foot there.
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought she was talking about the.
Oh,
feet
no, not at the
on
bottom, up
picture.
at the top here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah,
That's Camille. Okay.
That's Camille. Yeah.
So the couches would be over here.
Yeah. And here's another thing that I found, which I found super unprofessional of the BCA, because there are one for sure, probably, I think if I remember, 2 photos where you see the sweat from the person taking the photos on the floor. Now that is contaminating the scene. You don't sweat on your crime scene and then take a photo of it.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of gross.
Yeah. I mean, those suits are really hot. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, you don't allow your bodily fluids to interact. Now, you see
it with your DNA.
Correct. And there's a perfect cast-off pattern indicative of something close to, and I'm not saying it is, a knife, where it looked like a V.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cast-off generally of something like a knife.
What is this?
You mean the kindergarten handprints that they're calling footprints?
This is the great debate. It's either
That's
fake.
That solves the case, I thought, from what you told us, Laurie.
Oh, yeah, that's
okay.
the footprint.
This is the footprint. Oh, I made me pulling this up. Okay, yes. So this is the footprint that they have taken, and they have overlaid
other one,
David's foot onto this footprint, and this proves that David was alive and walking around when the other ones had already been killed. This is the solve the case. This is what they say, that this proves that David was walking around because this is his footprint.
I want everybody to Google what footprints and blood actually look like and compare it to this photo.
Yep.
but they've got the overlays.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that could be manipulated and stretched and flipped and everything?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I mean.
No.
Now, what is this? But seriously, what is this?
It's supposed to be a footprint.
But
Yeah.
what is it?
It's not a footprint.
My
That is
foot,
not a
it's a
footprint.
hand. Done by a hand.
Yeah,
I
the
think it's a
police
foot.
titled it apparent footprint.
Now,
know.
there's another one coming up when they spray,
That one.
and there's one that does look
The
like
next one.
like a handprint.
Because right there you can see that you have the skeletonized blood, or it's not actually not skeletonized. I actually made that just doing a pattern, but you see a long line, just a strip. Now there is no toe that makes that long line. It's insane how this is done.
Bigfoot, maybe?
What?
Bigfoot.
I was gonna say that's a pretty. I mean, okay, so I can see this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could see this being then thinking this is a footprint.
No, see that it doesn't even.
No.
Oh God, I guess when I look at that, I'm telling you, it's not a footprint. But when you look at that underneath the amino black, you can see as plain as day that there is something there prior, which is not there in that photo.
Wow. Okay. I'm not going to argue with you guys because you guys, as far as I'm concerned, you guys are the experts on this. I'm
right there. You see the sweat? Prior.
It was a brown bear. It was a brown bear.
Brown bear. Oh boy, not the bear again.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, which one?
It's the one. It's coming up on the next.
Okay, the next one,
I think.
It was the professor in the study with the candlestick.
Right there. Stop.
I got
How
it.
does that look like a foot?
And it's right at the bottom, right where the red line is, right below that little red line is that sweat.
Oh yeah.
How dear
Exactly.
girl. It's right here. Are you kidding me? Oh dear God.
And here, the one thing I like about this photo, you see where it's smooth. You see the red, and then you see it's kind of smooth in a shadow type thing. I don't know how else to call it. All of that area lights up with amino black. Amino black reacts to the hemoglobin in the blood.
Yeah.
So if that were true bloody footprints, that entire section would be red, but it's not. It's missing.
Yes, the entirety, not just the area where but the entire foot area would show up.
Exactly. And then you see a swipe mark where the so-called big toe is.
But like I said, if you Google bloody footprints and compare it to what we're seeing right here, it doesn't compare.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Guys.
Actually, I had someone, and I believe she gave me permission. So again, when we get to this part, she did give me permission to use her photo, but I think she gave me permission to use her name. But right now we have a photo. She injured her foot, so it was full of blood. So what she did, just for our group, she had actual bloody foot that she stepped on the floor and just the ball of her foot. So we will be comparing that with this floor photo. And I'm telling you, like Sophia was just saying, it's night and day.
Laurie, right there. Right there, are you able to zoom in at all?
No, I can't. Well, I might be able to.
With that orange arrow again?
No, I cannot zoom in.
Okay.
With this
are you
orange
able to
arrow?
go? Yes. Are you able to go back a little bit further? Because it showed that floor area a little bit clearer.
Further? Right there?
No. Okay. It's pointing to cast off. And then you see that little white thing right there with the number on it?
Yeah.
Right behind it, that's all clotted blood.
Right here.
Right
that
there.
doesn't happen from gunshots. That happens from beatings.
And we will show you, because we're going to compare this area right here. And again, it's like, I hate to be giving away everything we're working on, but that looks, when you compare it.
Actually, you saying that is going to draw people, because I'm sure the heck I'm not going to miss that.
Well, hold on. You didn't hear what we had to say. It actually looks like handprints on that floor. And we will show that. And we have an excellent photo of a bloody handprint that matches very closely to what you see on that floor. And again, it, like she was saying, that blood.
And then right here. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Right there, that is cast off again.
Right.
So, I mean, and there's so many different directions.
I'm seeing
when
that.
you look at this photo, that's what's taken us the longest, are those two areas, because there's so much movement and so many different points of impact that we're just, it's hard to point it all out. And so, I'm sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
Oh, no. It's just, it's again, you have actual bloody handprints on the floor, or appear to be bloody handprints. And again, we have a photo we're going to compare it, and they're almost identical. And so you have that, and they completely ignore it. You don't even see, they don't even label those two areas with the clotted blood, which is highlighted right there. Look, stop right there. And then you see the 18, and right to the right of the 18, where you can see, looks like fingers and a palm.
Yeah.
And clotted blood. So that was, that's a lot. That is a lot of bleeding. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes for that to go from wet to start to clot. So that means it was an extended event. This was not just a simple gunshot to the head.
And Kamel was shot in the back of the head. She was
the side of the head. She has an entrance or exit on the parietal lobe.
But this is on the exact opposite side of the living room. There's no way that could have made it that distance.
Correct.
It doesn't travel that far. Lead doesn't, especially when it's that heavy.
Correct.
So whatever happened right at the edge of that rug.
Again, I've never been left with more questions than answers after an interview.
This crime scene is not what the official narrative is being sold as.
Mm-mm.
Oh, and one last teaser. I have to tell you, because this was something Sophia actually pointed out to me recently, is on that rug. And when we were, as she said, we are still working on the second video of our blood part, is when I zoomed in on the area. She's like, look at this area. See, okay, pause right there real quick. But when I zoomed in on the area she asked me to zoom in on, you can clearly see the drops of blood are heading under the rug, which means from the direction that the blood was flowing, which had to mean that the rug was not there when that blood hit the floor. And here, this is what I'm telling you about. You see a swipe pattern where the so-called toe is.
Yeah.
And all of that's lit up. That's all picking up the hemoglobin, but you do not see that in the other photos.
Right, you don't.
So we have proof, according to, and it's by their photos, that the rug was almost on top of blood drops and the multiple directions of the blood. Now, does that look like toes, or did that look like fingers?
Looks like finger. That looks like a small handprint.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be the little girls?
Or it could be like a partially closed fist.
Partially closed, yeah.
Like they're crawling. I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is, but
because you look into the right, does that look like a little toe and then a next toe? I mean, those don't look like toes.
No, those are not toes. Those are fingers.
Yeah.
That looks like a hand. Yeah, like a right hand.
Yeah,
right?
Because from here to where the floor stops and the grain starts to the tip. There we go. This is the knuckle to the tip of the finger. Knuckle to the tip of the finger. Knuckle
that makes sense.
Finger. Knuckle to the tip of the finger.
So how did Christina get David's foot to fit?
And here's a palm. This is a definite palm. And here's the web, and here comes over into the thumb.
Yep. So that bloody footprint and the match to David's,
Yeah, that kind of blew it out of the water.
yeah, it's kind of BS now.
Kind of BS. Yeah, I'm glad I.
Yeah, and again, right where the supposed toe is on that main one right there, and then you see that huge swipe pattern going, toward the left, but that is not visible on the floor, only highlighted by the amino black. And I don't know how long we have been trying to beat this into the heads of those other people to get them to see this is blood that had been cleaned up. It is not visible on the floor, but it is definitely chemically visible once they spray it.
Right.
And it's like, if this doesn't tell you somebody freaking cleaned the floor, I don't know what will.
Sounds like somebody cleaned a lot.
Yes.
And nobody saw it. None of the neighbors. Nobody else's DNA is there that we. Help me out here, guys. Eric, Jeff, help me out. Make it make sense to me.
I wish
Can't
I could
help
do
you,
that, but I'm
sorry.
incapable of doing that.
Makes zero sense at all.
Wow. We are coming up on 11:35, 2.5 hours. We could probably go for another 6 hours.
Oh, this case is not easy to describe to anybody.
We want 20. We want 24 hours. We want 24.
We want a marathon.
Anybody bring the Red Bull?
He fell asleep on their computers. I saw him.
I did not bring Red Bull, but
Solo
I
on
did
that
bring a whole lot of crack. Give me some crack. Keep going. Keep going. Little crack, little meth. Good to go. A lot of meth.
Good to go.
I'm going to
Give me some
pull
crack.
I'm going to pull up the gray stage here for you guys. I'm going to put the link in the description because I want to have you guys back on. If Eric doesn't want to do it here, we can do it someplace. I would love to have you guys back next Wednesday to continue because we cannot. I have so many more questions.
That would be awesome.
Would that be okay? Do you have you guys back next week?
Let's ask one or two more questions.
Okay.
One.
We haven't talked about my fan club at all.
And then we talk about Greg after dark.
Yeah, why aren't we talking about me?
So this is, I'm going to put the link in the chat room for you guys to go over and take a look at all of the videos. Now that I'm subscribed on the channel that I'm usually on, my rabbit hole channel is what I'm usually always signed in under on my phone. I get the notifications now. So.
Oh, do you? No one else is getting them. The only one.
The only one that gets.
Well,
what I'm going to do. Well, what I'm going to do is because we're broadcasting over on my Facebook page, what I'll do is every time you guys do go live, I will post it over there for you guys.
Nice.
And so pay attention to Nothing to See Here, Exposing Satanic World Government, Sentinels of Truth group, all three of those, including, my personal page. So there'll be 4 things that, if you follow any of us, there's 7 of us on the panel, 8 of us on the panel. So if you follow any of us, you should be able to, get the links to come over and watch you guys, because this is not getting the attention it should be getting by any stretch.
It kind of ages like fine wine is the way that I kind of look at it here.
The thing of it is, though, is we have has anybody reached out to the family? Has anybody interviewed the family of what their thoughts are on this?
Dan Hannon, the guy who started all of this drama and trouble, he talked with Kamel's dad, and up until a point we were in contact with Kamel's sister. David's dad reached out, never got a response, and I think the brother, the sister, never, they didn't really want to talk about it either. So Yeah, I think pretty much there have been other family members, like distant family members, because they both have a huge family on both sides. So there are other people, and that's another reason to keep this case going, because there are so many family members out there that do have questions, that that are looking at this stuff silently, privately, quietly.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that they have not heard any of this stuff that we're talking about here today.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because, you know, I'm not going to go into it. I do have a vested interest. I do have a personal, like you know, wanting to see this get solved for the family, because there's something that happens physically, mentally, spiritually to a person, to a family member who's had to go through this, where you need closure.
Yeah, this family needs it, whether they know that or whether they don't. David's mother's side, who have their questions too, and Kamel's family, you know, certain people in their family, I know that they all want closure. Friends too, they want closure. People that served with David, they want closure. I know they do. I've spoken with some of them. They're not very they're very reluctant to come on a show or anything like that. We have had one or two, I believe, that's popped in on a live chat or something like that. But they are out there. They are watching.
Okay. I'm sorry. I get this is very emotional for me to go through this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just want to give it the attention that it deserves, because, like I said, the family needs closure.
I can't imagine having 3 family members die and not having the truth to how they passed away. For instance, I can't imagine how Kamel's side of the family would feel if they always thought that David was the one who did this, when in reality, we don't believe that he did, and the truth is right there. All they have to do is test the rest of the DNA, and they could get the truth. But I mean, it's so close, and we need that one person to make it happen, and maybe this could help
somebody out there knows.
Yeah,
somebody out there knows more than they're telling, for sure. Somebody holds that key
Let me
out
ask
there.
another question before we wind it down. Is the elected officials that were in office at the time of this event, have they been reelected? Has the administration changed since then? You know, is there a way that you could petition, you know, if it is a new administration, a new chief of police, a new, you know, new detectives? Is there a way to I don't know, reach out to them and show them what you've seen? I mean, you guys are pretty much, like I said, the experts on this. I would be much more willing to accept what you guys are saying and showing on the screen and your research, basically, than the police have done.
I will tell you that I have sent an email with a lot of the information. Well, most of what I had up to that point to everyone. We're talking the state attorney general. We're talking the city attorney, the Dakota County sheriff, the police chief. I sent it to everybody, including the city council. And even when they switched and there was a new attorney general that was elected, I think all the other officials stayed the same. I even sent it to the new one.
Okay.
And no responses. I think I did get a response back from the state attorney general, where they said that they turn all of the investigative power over to the local authorities. But that was it. And I'm like, I was telling you that they didn't see it, that there's more to this and nobody's helping, and nothing. It's silence, crickets.
I
Wow.
honestly don't think that that's necessarily true. I mean, they said they sent it back to the locals,
Well, I'm
but
telling you,
when,
that's what they sent me. The letter they sent me from the state attorney general's office stated that
yeah,
that's what they did. And I have heard nothing from anybody, but Sophia did get that one letter where they said that if you say, you know.
just that it implies that they have opened the case, but they don't come out and say that they opened the case. They say that they're not going to be giving anybody else any more documents because they're afraid of the case being tainted and any future arrests being tainted for court. So, and they also stated that this type of case is never closed. So, just everything that she implied in that letter without actually coming out and saying it points to them looking at everything again.
Can you address this comment?
The 14 grand?
Yes, Derek, that's true.
Yes. That paper bag that was on the front porch had a $14,000 check in it. I think it was a cashier's check.
Eric, can you check private chat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Huh? I don't even know what that means. Oh, I read it wrong. Gotcha. Well, we've been going almost 3 hours now. And we really want people to listen to the show. Anything over 3 hours, usually people miss out on important parts. Yes. So maybe go through all our guests. I definitely want to thank everybody in the chat. I would go through y'all, but there's too many. What's interesting is there's how many of us here right now on this panel?
8.
8 people on the panel, and all these different people in the chat, and yet it says only, well, right now 15, but it's been down as low as 13, which makes no sense. So we are definitely being shadow banned. No doubt about it.
We've
That's
had
ridiculous.
Through the 3 platforms that that I'm streaming on right now, we've had 40 people all together watching.
We normally have 20 to 30 watching our shows, and with this many people, especially this subject we're talking about, we should have even more than that. But apparently we have half. But there's no shadow banning going on here, folks. None.
If
anyway,
you start talking about our fan club, maybe those numbers will rise. Here.
Maybe if we each take a minute to say some final words. Let's start with Greg. Hot Greg. I wish I could be hot Greg because I'm just lukewarm Spitfire.
That's right. Yep, and you still don't have any videos that we know of. There's no videos out there on you, so you're going to stay that way for a while here. But I want to give a special shout out to my fans. Let them know that I'm here. Your Grandmaster Sexay is still here, so don't you worry. Don't you worry about anything here. Yeah, to everybody out there, thank you everybody for being in this chat. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Eric. Thank you everyone on the panel. Jaime too, Cass, everyone who is here, Jeff, Catherine, Sophia, everybody. Thank you all for helping to keep this case going, because that is what really, really matters here. There are people that want to shut this case down. They want to stop it. They want us to quit talking about it. And they go, as you can see, they go to great lengths to try to do that. But it does not matter. We're beyond that point. It's whatever they do, any tactics, any games that they want to play is not going to work, because you cannot hide from this truth. And this is a very simple truth. We know what the truth is. The truth is David is innocent. And like we've said many, many times, it's the burden of proof. If you're going to accuse somebody of a crime like this, first be very careful, because what you do could come back to haunt you someday. If you go around accusing people of things, you may be accused of something at some point. So put yourself on, on the other side of it before you just run around, especially in a case like this where there is a child involved here. That is a big thing of why I kept going with this case, is because there's a 5-year-old child involved. And if you've ever seen any of the videos of that child or any photos of that child, you kind of, it really puts it into perspective of how serious this case is and how simple it is. To me, this is a slam dunk case. That's why it's easy for me to stick to this case, to stay on it. I know it may seem like I put a lot of effort. I don't put a lot of effort into this case. You don't really need to. It's all there. And then we just kind of learn, and I listen to other people, and I learn, and I grow, and I take what other people say and just keep going on and keep fighting for truth in this case, which is very simple. So just want to say that, and thank you all.
Thank you, Brother Greg. Hot Greg.
Hot Greg, that's right.
And once again, Greg Fernandez.
I like long walks in the park and pork rinds.
Yeehaw! Keep me outside. How about that?
I like the ballet. I like theater. Fine
I like
wine.
theater. I love theater. Fine wine.
Cass.
Yes. This isn't the first time I've looked at this, as you guys well know. I personally have that many questions. I could fill an entire 3-hour show on my own. And that's saying something because I don't talk a lot. There's more holes in this than there is sealed and conclusive proof to fit the narrative. And it's horrendously clear that it's a setup. So it's just a case of figuring out and getting it looked at and tracing it back to the who and the motive behind it and just how it came about. Like, how? I think that's the biggest question, is how. Thank you for having me. It's been fun. Well, yeah, not fun, but you get my point.
Anytime. It's been real. It's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun. No, it's been real fun. It really has. Sophia. Bueller.
Who did you say?
Sophia.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I zoned out.
No problem.
Cass, if you ever have some questions that you'd like help with for the case, feel free to hit us up. We'll be happy to help out.
Not a drama at all. Not a problem. I do look at it occasionally, so in my spare time. But
okay.
Obviously not as in-depth as you guys. It's passing interest for me in amongst everything else that I go through. Yeah.
Of course. I just would like to thank the panel and thank everybody who joined us tonight. It was a real pleasure, and thank you for letting us just share our views on this case and spread the word about the David Crowley case. And hopefully one day we can get some justice for this family.
Excellent. Perhaps, maybe one day. The chances of that probably, unfortunately, are about the same as getting justice for 9/11. Truth. But we will continue to fight the good fight. That's what we do against the top bosses like Mama Gamer. She is the final boss, folks. Make no mistake. Jeff Hayes. We haven't heard from you since like the start of the show. Jeff's like, he's like, so he fell asleep. No, you still there, Jeff? He's like, I don't need to speak. I write books. I write.
He's a man of few words unless he's writing.
Go to SamaritanSentinel.com and get my book. Peace. There, I spoke for him. Jaime, what's Bueller?
Yeah. I'm still around here. Drinking my Kool-Aid, and I'm taking my vitamins in my protein shake, and I'm going to turn into a zombie, and I'm going to turn myself into a zombie, and I'm going to fight the new world zombies apocalypse.
Hell yeah, he's got his freaking squirt gun loaded with granny fluid. He's coming for you.
And if you want to write to me, you can send your fan mail to www.itakemyvitamins.com. All proceeds.
Granny fluid, yo.
Granny fluid, yo.
Catherine, Michelle.
Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what everyone else has been saying. I just want to thank everyone who's joined in to listen, and we truly appreciate the fact that you're taking time out to look into the innocence of David and just the facts of the case. And we'll keep fighting as long as we can. We'll keep bringing out everything. And when you do, and we really hope you do read the documents, that you look at it, but then look at it with a discerning eye. Don't take what you see at face value. When something pops out at you, question it. And hopefully you'll join us next time as well.
Question everything for sure. I think that just leave Laurie?
It just leaves me up on the screen. Justice for David Crowley. It's a Facebook group over. I will make sure that all the links get put in the description area below. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, our chatters, our guests, and we will do part 2 next week.
Sounds great.
So excited about that too. Hold on. We forgot one thing. Grandmaster Sexy. No, that's not. We didn't forget that. That's just fun. We forgot to give away the book.
Oh goodness!
So it's a 3 for today. 3 for today. You get all 3 of Jeff Hayes' books. We will send them to you, and again, as well as your name, address, social security number, and everything else the agencies want. No. So usually we take a crisis actor and we flip the letters around. So I mean, it's really not that hard to think of a one of them. I am going to use this one, and if whoever gets it first wins all 3 books. Havid Dog.
I was just going to say that one as well.
Aww. Isn't that crazy how we've connected out? Not the battle. You guys are getting books regardless.
So we can't say the answer.
I know. Tonight, David, my batching fight.
I know who it is. I know.
David Dog.
David Dog. Scrambles those.
David Hogg, Charity.
Hey, you win.
Congratulations, Charity.
Now, Mike might have came in at exactly the same time because he was just like right next, but just a little too late.
That's right. Ken, I've got your books going out. I've already got you on the list. Mike, if you want, give me a shout over on Facebook. I have a couple of books left, and I can get them out to you as well.
Red Pill Truth doesn't have a book yet?
No, he doesn't.
Well, I mean, we got 4 hogs in a row. Red Pill Truth, send your info, and I'll get the book to you. So we're going to send out a bunch of books.
Yeah. Mike Bites, Charity, Ken, Sarah. I've got Sarah. Yeah. So we'll get those books out to you.
Congratulations,
Mike
winners.
Bites, Red Pill Truth, Sarah,
Ken, Sarah, Charity.
We will get you a copy of Rise in the New World Order. Charity A, you get all 3.
Sarah, I can talk to you in text message on my phone. Ken and Mike, you can contact me through Facebook. Charity, I'm not sure if we're connected over on Facebook or not, but go ahead and give us a email at Rise of the New World Order. Oh, wait a minute. What is it? Hold on a second. I gotta pull up our email, Eric. What is it? It is New World. It's New World Order, Rise of the @gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So, New World Order.
Awake Veteran 88, where do you get this book? Well, there's 3 of them, and you can get 2 of them at Amazon, correct, Jeff? Bueller? No, Jeff.
I think we lost Jeff.
Yes, you can go to
Yeah.
Sentinel.com on Amazon, pick up my 2 books. My 3rd one is not available there yet. He's abandoned me. But if you stick around long enough, we'll send you a free copy of his newest book.
Yeah.
So basically, the best way to get a copy of his newest book is come to our show.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Charity, go ahead and give us an email, New World Order Rise of the @gmail.com. I will make sure I get your email or your address, and I will get those out. For everybody else, I sent out 4 or 5 books today. One went to Canada. Christian was in here. Canada's went out, and Debbie's went out.
I think we got everybody.
Melinda's went out. Yeah.
And Cass, because we're not allowed to send it to Australia.
Yeah. Well, I had to fill out
down here.
I had to fill out a customs form to go to Canada.
Night, y'all. I didn't get no free stuff. Yeah, look at this. 49 thumbs up, but 15 are watching. Okay. Yeah. What? Shadow ban. It's fun.
Well, that's funny you should say that, Eric, because I've been running this on Global Watchman News, and there was only 6 people over there, yet
Like Global Watchman News?
Yeah, well, we've got 12 people, but I've got
You normally have at least 30 to 40 watching every time you do it. 15 now.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. And
Shadow banning is real.
before we lost our Facebook page, I had close to 200 people in our chat room every night.
Here, watch. You want to watch your numbers go up to like 50 to 100?
No, shush, for closing this down.
No. Give me some crack.
Closing this down.
When I walk down the cracks, I want the water in my nostrils. When I'm
all right, everybody.
Hey, big crackhead.
Good Lord. I want to thank all of our panelists, and I want to thank all of our chatters. We will do this again, part 2 next week. I'll make sure that the link is up for us. I'll make sure all the links that we talked about or reused on this broadcast will be in the description area below as soon as I'm done here. Eric, take us out.
Welcome. Where's the echo?
Echo.
That was kind of anticlimactic.
I know.
Yeah, I'll take us out.
Okay, take 2. Eric, take us out.
Expect me. Welcome to the resistance.
How is that?
Peace.
Peace.